I don't know anybody that's tournament fished all their life and never decided, you know what, I ain't gonna do the boat thing. I'm just gonna fish coring all my life. At some point, everybody decides a boat. I know everybody here in the app doesn't have a boat, but I guarantee you, give yourself 18 months. Some of you it ain't gonna be 2 or 3 months. You're gonna want a boat. And so if you're gonna buy a boat, you might as well. I think I heard Gene said you gotta your favorite boat is going to never your first boat or somebody's favorite boat's usually your second or third boat. It's never your first one. But maybe we can cut that down a little bit. And we're just gonna talk about choosing the right bass boat for you. I know we got quite a few kayak guys. Can't tell you how many kayak guys end up buying a boat. I love kayak. I like being close to water. Next thing you know, $100,000 later they in a bass boat. Even some of the things we're going to talk about today, if you fish out of a kayak, same accessories, a lot of the same electronics, a lot of the same mentality, and a lot of the same accessories we use on bass boats work on kayaks too. So it'll still give you some insight on what might be the best setup for you. And then at the right time, we'll definitely do the same thing again, but for kayaks. We'll do choosing the right kayak for you. And we have done some kayak things. If you're new to the app, a lot of times people just forget. We have done quite a few things on kayak accessories and how to rig a kayak and how to use the kayak, how to buy them. We've done quite a bit on that. So uh, type in kayak. I always tell you, search in the search and find your kayaks. All right, we can jump to our first slide here, Mike. So this is what we're going to talk about here today. We are going to talk about choosing the right bass boat. That's going to cover a couple of things. If you want to buy, and we're specifically talking about tournament boats in this particular conversation. A lot of times we're just talking about buying your first used boat, but if you're interested in competition, this conversation is about buying a boat specifically for competition. So we're going to talk about what you should be looking for. We're going to talk about what's the best size, the best length boat. And then obviously if you buy a boat, almost nobody buys one off the showroom floor and that's it. As the romance continues, you're going to want to add accessories, trolling motor, batteries, graphs, brackets, all the stuff. We're going to talk about what I've found over the years to be some of the best bang for your buck for accessories. I don't have everything that they make for boats on my boat. I probably tried just about everything that they make for boats on my boat, and I pulled the wool back and decided what I wanted to run. We'll talk about that. And then the last part of it, we'll switch over to my cell phone and we'll just do a walkthrough on my boat. I would have loved to carried it outside. I was a little afraid that the Wi-Fi would be a little spotty even if I pulled it out 50 feet out of my garage. So we're going to try to do the walkthrough right here in my shop. The lighting in my shop is okay. It's okay. So if you got any questions, throw them in the chat, but I'll try to make this as easy for you to watch as possible by doing it with my cell phone. I do have my tripod here. A lot of it, I'll make it POV so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, let's go slide one here, Mike. Choosing the right bass boat. You need to have some priorities, guys and gals. It's not going to be your favorite color. It might not even be your favorite manufacturer. Maybe it is, but it might not be your favorite boat that you need to buy first. So I've got 4 priorities that you need to check off before you decide to buy your first tournament bass boat or tournament boat, because people fish tournaments out of all kind of boats. My first question is, what is your tow vehicle? If you're gonna buy a boat, you're gonna buy a 20-foot Falcon, and you're running around driving Chevy Colorado, your priorities are screwed up. You got a Toyota Tacoma, and you're trying to get a 22-foot Triton. It's not gonna work good. Now, I know what somebody will say. Yeah, well, my Tacoma's got the new i4 City, and they said I could pull. Listen, pay attention to what guys on tour driving, and it's not by accident. If you start driving and pulling a boat around, you're gonna really quickly realize that a mid-sized truck and a full-size boat can be a bad idea. I started out like that. I used to have a Chevy S10, 4.3 liter V6, pulling a 19-foot bass boat with 200 on it. You know what happened to that truck? I blew it up. So, can it work? Absolutely. It can work. It's going to have an expiration date on it. It's a little bit shorter than if you buy at least a $1,500 size truck. So you need to know your tow vehicle. If your tow vehicle is a mid-size truck or whatever else it could be, car, van, or whatever the case may be, you probably don't want to go buy the biggest bass boat that's available. Just be honest with yourself. Don't trick yourself. Okay? I'm telling you from experience, lived experience. Everybody see me running around with my F-250 now, the 6.7 diesel. I'm like, oh, it's easy for you to say, nope. I had a mid-size truck and a full-size boat. It don't work good. Now, I had to do that at the time, and you might have to do that at the time. What I'm here to tell you is you got an expiration date, and it's coming up soon, so prepare yourself if you do decide to do that. I would highly recommend at least 1,500 size gas truck to pull any boat that's over, man, I'm going to just go ahead and say 18 foot and over. Mid-size truck and 18-foot boat will work. Still, just go ahead and, if you can, get your full-size truck. How much can you pay for this boat? And I need you to be honest with this. You don't have to tell me. I don't need you to put it in the chat. I don't need you to send me a message about it. To be honest, you know how much you want to fish. Calculate how much you want to fish. Calculate the tournaments you're going to fish. Calculate how much money you're going to make. Also factor into this how much extra work are you willing to do. Because if you were to look at my payout, I'm going to tell you how much money I used to make. Between $300 to $500 a week. And in the wintertime, sometimes it was like $600 a month. I have had a full-size truck and a brand new bass boat ever since 2004. I bought my first brand new bass boat in 2004. Well, Brian, you're lying. The math ain't mathing. Is that what y'all saying? The math ain't mathing. You said you made $300 to $500 a week. A brand new bass boat payment back then was about $380 a month, and then a truck was about $400 or $500 a month. And fish tournaments, a couple $1,000 a month. The math ain't mathing. How the math makes math sense is because I did a lot of extra work. I would grab an extra mulch job here, $200, $500, the extra landscaping job install here, $7,000, $10,000. I made all my boat money was extra money, extra work I had did, extra side hustles. So you got to be honest about what you're really going to be able to afford. I don't even know what boat payments are. I haven't had a boat payment in, it's 2020. I hadn't had a boat payment in like 15 years. It's been a long time. So I don't know what you're going to do, but you're going to have to work extra to get it. And you just got to be honest about how much you're going to be wanting to fish and how you're going to make it happen. Some of you like, well, I ain't going to do nothing extra. Just I work at the fire department and that's how much money I got, period. All right. That's going to determine what size boat you get or what you want. If you're happy with a smaller boat, that's fine. If you're wanting a full-size package, for most of us, that's going to mean there's going to be some life changes and sacrifices. Figure that part out, okay? This is one nobody seems to think about, especially if you're going to buy a glass boat, but I would argue this for any kind of boat. I have an aluminum boat. My aluminum boat does not set outside. I even got a John boat. It does not set outside. I don't like for my boats to set outside. For me, when I see a boat setting outside, it's almost like seeing a dog chained up to a tree. I want to call somebody and report them when I see that. I hate seeing a boat setting outside, uncovered, just out there by itself to wither away. It is a freaking shame to see that. Okay. If you're going to buy a boat, make sure you've got a garage, you've got a shed, even like those, I think they're much higher now. When I was buying boats, I used to have one of these. It was like a $700-$800 aluminum awning. I had one of those first. I didn't always have a shop. My first house, I had a little aluminum awning that I backed my boat under, and I would cover it up, especially in the wintertime when leaves and stuff would blow in it. But I used my boat so much that, I mean, I would cover it. I really didn't cover it. Let me just stop lying. I could if I wanted to, like if it was going to snow or like the wind was really bad or pollen. But I didn't ever use a cover. I backed it on that shed and it said a day or two at most. And I was back at the lake. So make sure you have a way to store it or cover it. And when I say store it, I don't mean back it in your driveway and put the boat cover on it. You can do that. Just know it's going to waste away. Boats are expensive. You guys used boats are twice what my brand new boat was in 2004. When I bought my first Ranger 195 with a 200 horsepower EFI on it, 27.9 Strickland Marine, 2004, February of 2004. I never will forget it. I had the white with the black stripes. Back then, you could get a 195 only came in certain colors. It came in brown with blue, brown and burgundy, white and black, white and red, white and blue, and sand and blue. If I hadn't already said that. I had the white with the black stripes. I ran that boat for about a year, and then I got a Z20. That's when I got the 15-year boat loan. After that, that was the dumbest thing I ever did. But I did it. It worked out. I'd do it again if I had to. You need to identify what kind of tournaments you plan to fish. Prime example, if you want some advice on aluminum versus aluminum versus fiberglass, talk to Ray Brunetti. Send him a few messages in the app. So 2 years ago, Ray Brunetti bought a aluminum low for me. I always have an aluminum bass boat. I usually at home, I almost never fish out of my Falcon. I usually fish out of an aluminum bass boat. Ray bought that boat for me. It was an 18-footer with a 115 on it. He ran it probably 18 months, and he bought a Falcon, a 20-foot Falcon. He started fishing tournaments. He started guiding, so he wanted a bigger boat, a little bit more capacity. So figure out what kind of tournaments you want to fish. Is it going to be club tournaments? 16 to 18-foot boat may be fine. I can tell you, if you decide you want to start fishing tournaments, much like what we talked about earlier today, which would be like BFLs. If you decide you want to start fishing BFLs, if you decide you want to start fishing, I don't know, just some tournaments will have a little bit of a more financial investment in it and time investment in it. Most of the time, you end up wanting, I'm calling a full-size boat 20 foot and larger. Almost always, if you decide to fish those, you end up wanting something bigger. Myself included. I ran 19s for years. I had a 19-foot Stratus with 225. I had a 19-foot Winter, which was my first boat. The Rangers that I had at first were 19-footers. Then when I started traveling more and I got a little bit more money, honestly, I probably really didn't get more money. More I think about it. I didn't get no more money. I just wanted a bigger boat. I started fishing bigger tournaments. That's when I got the Ranger Z20. And then I bought a Stratus, and then after that, I probably owned 5 or 6 Ranger Z520s. That was probably, I owned more of those than I did anything. It was a 20-foot boat, and ever since then, I've run 20s. After I bought the Stratus, which also was a 19, ever since then, I ran 20-foot boats. I just think that's the sweet spot, honestly. Sweet spot is 20. It's big enough to where I can get out there and do some silly stuff. If I got 2 people in there with me, I'm still fairly comfortable. Plenty of storage. And, it's just a good competitive boat. 19 works great. There's times with the 19 that I wish I had a 20. That's all I got to say for you. I don't know what it is. I don't have anything. It's not like I couldn't store enough rods or store enough tackle. There were just times when I ran a 19. There were times where I wish I had a 20. Not all the time, but just sometimes. The most popular thing you're going to hear when people are talking about the sizes of boats, when they talk about 20 foot versus 19, they're like, well, the 20 can get in between docks better. Bull crap. I can get the 20-footer in between docks just like the 19. I can get an 18. And listen, this is what you need to worry about when it comes to boat size. This is the thing that you're going to notice the most. It ain't getting in between docks. Y'all ain't, if the docks are that close, the difference between a 20 and a 21 is like that much fiberglass. that you're on. You ain't getting in between docks better. And the docks is that close, like, are you not casting? Like, you're not, it ain't doing that. Here's the difference you're going to notice. When you go from a smaller boat to a bigger boat, the bigger boat has a bigger footprint in the water. What I'm talking about, footprint is the amount of fiberglass that's in the water. And the more fiberglass that you have in the water, the more stable the boat is. And when I say stable, I don't mean left to right, front to back, or big guys moving around in the back. What I'm talking about is when I hit the trolling motor on my 20-footer, it responds a little bit slower and the wind doesn't push it around. Those 17, 18, 19-foot boats don't have as big a footprint in the water, as much glass, much surface area in the water. So just a small gust of wind will just push it around. So with that being said, in all actuality, you really can fish in between docks better with a bigger boat. And that's why. That's my next YouTube video. Y'all just gave me some game on that. A bigger boat will always be easier to control on the trolling motor. Every single time. My 22-foot bay boat, I fish around docks in Charles. That's all I do is fish around docks because the oysters build up behind docks when it makes a current break. The 22-foot bay boat is a dream to fish out of on docks. I don't want a little skiff to do that. The current will be pushing that thing around and skating around. I'd fight it to death. But when I'm running the trolling motor on that 22-foot bay, I got 22 foot of glass in the water. And I can manipulate that boat so well because when I move it to the left, it moves there and stays there. I'll move it to the right, it moves there and it stays there. When I'm in a little skiff or I'm in a little John boat, that's a much more extreme, some extreme exaggeration with the John boat. Well, John boat, you move the boat to the left and it just keeps going, it skates. The wind blow it down, you're going backwards. That's the biggest difference you're going to notice. It ain't getting in between docks and laydowns and timber. That ain't going to be what it is. Big boats going to be better. Pros run 20 and 21s for a reason. You spend enough time in the boat, you start to notice things like that. I was supposed to be talking about what tournaments you plan to fish. Y'all figure it out, okay? All right. What's our next? Is the next? I have a next slide. Best boat length to buy. I really kind of just covered that. So again, just to reiterate it, the best boat length for you to buy is going to depend on your tow vehicle, where you can store it. Some people will say the body of water you fish. I would argue that a little bit. I'd push that further down. It's going to just depend on what type of tournaments you fish. Because people always mention that, well, the body of water, I fish Sam Rayburn, I fish this. Why are you going out there in that wind? They'll say this or that lake will get rough. Why are you going out there if you're not fishing tournaments? Why are you out there? It's windy. Stay at the house. Watch the game. Go somewhere with your wife when it's windy and like that. Don't do that. Don't go out there. Wait till it's good. If you fish tournaments, you don't have that luxury. You might need the bigger boat. But the best boat length to buy, in my opinion, if you have unlimited resources, you got the tow vehicle, you got somewhere to store it, 2021. It's the number one choice. 18s, 19s work great. I own them. Work great. My number one choice, 20 or 21. Preferably for me, the 20. I don't see any reason to need any bigger than 21. Most asked question when I do my boat build vlogs every year is, why'd you get the 21 instead of the 20? Because I got the 20. Why'd you buy 1500 instead of 2500? Because you bought the 1500. Why'd you buy the 3500 instead of the 2500? Because you bought the 3500. I buy 20 footers. Plain and simple. I buy 20 footers. There's nothing wrong with a 21. I don't want it. I just don't want a 21. There's nothing wrong with them. Great boats. I don't want it. Want it or need it. Okay. I think we went further enough in that. What's my next slide? I'm already doing the boat walkthrough. Let's talk about accessories, and then I'm also going to do the boat walkthrough on my boat too. I see the questions popping up too. Make sure you dump your questions in the chat there. I see yours, Barty, too, and we're going to definitely get into that. Okay, choosing the right bass boat. Let's talk about the accessories that are going to give you the most value. And I put a list here of what I've found to be things that if you can't have all these at once, I would probably be trying to work towards them. Number one, I don't want a boat without shallow water anchors. People are starting to argue that because the forward facing, like my shallow water anchors don't just have anything to do with me fishing and staying still. I put my shallow water anchors out before to protect my motor when I'm fishing around obstructions, timber, docks, and bridge pilings and stuff. Put those poles out, it's like a barrier, and it keeps your motor from hitting the docks or hitting a bridge piling or anything like that. I kind of also use them when I have to go number 2 in the boat. It's just my grab handle. TMI, I understand. It'll make sense one day later on. Maybe I even give you a little demonstration because I know the real ones got questions. I like power poles. I don't like any of the other ones. Power pole has the best customer service. Power pole makes the best shallow water anchor. Point blank, period. Argue with your mama on that. I'm always going to have shallow water anchors. I don't see a world where I don't have shallow water anchors. I don't see it. Batteries. Okay, I've explored both with this AGM and lithium. I got really ticked a few years ago with my lithium battery company I was working with. I had a lot of failures that cost me a lot of money. Just straight up, I'm not going to call out the manufacturer, but in 2021, my batteries cost me making the championship. And in my world, making the championship is an automatic $25,000 to $30,000. Well, a lot of your sponsors, you get contingencies for making championships, top tens, etc. I lost $25,000 to $30,000 off of just silly battery issues, and I got so pissed to the point where for 2 years I ran AGMs, and I had less problems, but I still had problems with AGMs. They wouldn't last me a whole season. And keep in mind, I'll only use my tournament boat for tournaments. Occasionally, I'll take it out. Like sometimes I'll take people out in the app. I'll go in the tournament boat, or if I'm filming something for the app, a lot of times I'm in my tournament boat. But I only use it for tournament fishing. When I'm out just fishing, for me, I never go on my Falcon. I could get sometimes 4 to 5 months. I usually put 20 to 25 hours per tournament on my boat. 20 to 25 hours. 80 hours, and batteries are smoked several times. And I ran high dollar AGM batteries. Now, I still run lead acid batteries for my cranking. Mercury does have approved. Mercury now does have approved lithium batteries. Brunswick actually owns a lithium company, and I have them in one of my boats now. But I'll show you my battery configuration here when we get to the walkthrough. But I've run both lithium for cranking and AGM for lead acid for cranking. And I'll probably, for 2027, I guess, in my new boat, I'm going to run lithium on cranking again. A lot was going on. I was kind of on the front end of the lithium deal, and we were having some problems with lithium batteries for cranking, but we're good to go now. I've tested them on my aluminum boat with no issues, so I think we're going to be good to go. But I've run both. Long story short, I've run both lithium. I've run AGM. Lithiums are better. They're better. Charge faster, last longer, more power. When you go to the Mississippi River and you're fighting grass and current at the same time, you know what your batteries are made of. When you go to Okeechobee and you're fighting waves and grass at the same time, you know what your batteries are made of. You go to the St. Lawrence River and you're fighting 3.5 to 4 mile an hour current for 10 to 12 hours at a time for 7 or 8 days in a row, you know what your batteries are made of. When I'm fishing Lake Hartwell, I may or may not put my batteries to the test. When I go to Lake Guntersville, I may or may not put my batteries to the test. But when you go to some of these lakes, you know what you're dealing with, and fast. And I will say that the lithiums, I'm not saying that they're flawless. I'm not saying you won't get lithiums and not have any problems. I'm saying you will have less problems, and I'm saying that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages with lithiums. All right. Here's the one that we got two coming up that are going to be points of contest, I'm sure. Forward-facing sonar and graphs, the two are really kind of the same thing. I would definitely have forward-facing sonar on pretty much any boat that I had. I would suggest it. Even if you use it for multi-species for crappie fishing, it's just nice to have forward-facing sonar. Know what you're looking at, know what you're doing, finding things. Forward-facing sonar is pretty good, man. Try to get it if you can. If we're being honest, I see these all the time. People say, I just can't afford forward-facing sonar. Bro, you can get forward-facing sonar cheaper than that cell phone you're talking on, watching this video on right now. Forward-facing sonar is not that expensive. I want to say for $2,000, you should be able to get in a system. So I don't want to hear it. iPhones are probably $2,000. It might even be less than $2,000, but at the end of the day, it's $2,000. If it's $1,600, it's $2,000 in my book. If it's $1,100, it's $1,500 in my book. You know, if it's $700, it's $1,000 in my book. So I'm gonna say less than $2,000, you should be able to get in forward-facing sonar. I don't want to hear it. You got a lot of things around your house that's $2,000. Almost everybody in this app got a lot of stuff that's more than $2,000. I know. I done seen your rigs. So I would say get forward-facing sonar. Go ahead and try to get that if you can. On your graphs, I run Lowrance graphs. I ran Garmin before, and I've for a while I always kept a Humminbird on my boat too for a while. Now I don't have to do that because both companies have come a long way. Since I've run both, I'm gonna tell you the advantages and disadvantages of both. I like Lowrance the best overall for my style of fishing. I ran Garmin and it had some advantages, and everybody's gonna say this because it's saying sponsored or whatever. I had more trouble with my Garmins. Lowrance takes less setup. I can take them Lowrance units out of my box, bolt them on the deck, and they are like ready to go. Garmin seems to take quite a bit of setup. I gotta go in there and change this, change that, put this in, do this, and you gotta get the this and this card and that. It just seemed like it took a little bit more user input to get the units to do what I needed them to do. My Lowrance, I actually, matter of fact, I've been running 3 this year. I have a 4th one, but I switch it from this boat to my aluminum boat. You'll see that here in a second. I can put a Lowrance HDS 12 on my boat, and I like change screens. I don't really change settings or nothing. You might want to change like some palettes or something, or color shading, maybe. But like, I'm not really messing with kilohertz, this or that, or I ain't really doing a whole lot to them. I had problems with the Garmin's with the cradle. So if you're not familiar with Garmin has a cradle. Let me use this. This is a little pack of blueberries, and basically the graph almost sits in this little cradle, and these pins line up. I don't know if they're still using this. Maybe they're not doing it anymore, and it's great because you can unbuckle the unit. It sets in this little thing like this, it's almost like that, and it sets in there and it buckles down. Your unit does. Just say this is the unit and this is the cradle. It sets in there and buckle it down, and it makes it easy to remove your unit. Like when you parked at Applebee's or something getting dinner, you can take your unit off and not have to use these wires. On a Lowrance, everything plugs in the back, and you gotta unplug like 6 wires. You don't do that on Garmin's. It's just one snap, pull, graph comes off. Great for when you're eating at McDonald's, Applebee's, stopping somewhere where you're scared somebody's gonna steal your stuff. Problem is, you keep that unit 2, 3, 4 years, banging on a bass boat. You're on the Great Lakes and pow, 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 pow. Them little pins get off-centered. The little pins get corroded. Your graph could just go out of nowhere. Mess around and not snap that graph in there perfectly. Hit a wave, boop, your $4,000 graph is coming back at you, maybe in the lake, and they don't float. So I'm just telling you God honest truth. I run Lowrance for a reason. I mean, I can kind of run whatever I want to, and I'm running what I want to. So, not saying those other units aren't great, don't have good things about them, but I just really like what I got the best. I really do. Trolling motor. So I run a Lowrance trolling motor. I run the Lowrance Ghost on my competition boat. I have a Recon on my aluminum boat, Lowrance Recon. I have run the Garmin. I've never owned the Power Pole trolling motor. I've run one. What did I had Motor Guides for years. When I was running Motor Guides, I went through about a tournament. I went through a trolling motor per tournament. I used to keep 2 trolling motors in my truck because sometimes I would go through 3 motors in a tournament. Real talk, factual. I had the trolling motor on my boat and 2 extras in my truck. That's how many trolling motors I went through when I was running Motor Guides. Hot garbage. Worst piece of product I ever run in my life. So I've been running Lowrance the last 3 years. I have had 1 heading sensor fail on my Lowrance, and that's been it. Do what you want to with that. Some people have bad reviews on Lowrance. I've had running 3 years. I replaced a heading sensor in one trolling motor in 3 years. Are we to the walk around part now, Mark?
Yeah, that's
Mark.
what's next.
All right, so this is what I'm gonna do now. We're gonna walk around, and I may let the garage door up. I'll probably let the garage door up on my shop so you can actually see, get a little light in here so you can see my boat. I'm gonna switch over to my cell phone, and I'll walk you through my accessories, how I have my boat rigged, and then you can get an idea of maybe some of the things that you might want on your boat if you decide to buy your tournament boat. So just pause for a brief intermission while I get my mic set up for that, and then we'll do.
We can try staying on this. If you stay logged in with I can use this audio, and you can just use the phone as a camera.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I don't even have to move the mic. Yeah. I see what you mean. I can just use the phone as a camera and stay plugged in like I am.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try that then. This mic is so aggravating. I'm going to try to put it somewhere else where it doesn't. Can you hear that okay? That sound okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so I'm going to put it on my hat bill because it really aggravates me how it on my shirt. It's walking around. It's going to be even worse.
Now you look like a YouTuber.
I am, and that I am. Let's see. I want to go like that, right? And then I'm gonna turn this down. All right, we're good.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay, let's let up. You getting any feedback, Michael?
I got you muted the right
Okay.
way, so we should be good to go.
All right, good to go. So here's my boat. Most of you guys have seen my boat, fairly familiar with it. So I'm running a Falcon F20 Predator. Let me see if I can turn. Is it easy to turn the camera around on this? It'll make it a little easier for a little bit. Let's do. Okay, yeah, let's try it this way. So I have a Falcon F20 Predator.
I always lost your video.
Lost the video?
Yeah, it didn't swap around.
Okay. Let's see. How about now?
Nope.
Yeah, I can see it now.
I just have a black screen.
Huh. Oh, I think I know what I need to do. Oh, dang.
There we go.
So it made me you can't swap the cameras, looks like.
Okay.
You have to get on the camera and stay on the camera is what it looks like.
Clearly we rehearsed this, guys.
Yeah, we've clearly rehearsed this. So F20 Predator, I always get tandem trailer. If you got a 20-foot, I would say if you got a 19-foot boat or larger, I would highly recommend you just go ahead and get the tandem trailer. I don't know what it is about trailer tires, but they always pick up nails and everything else. So you're gonna always have problems with tires. So go ahead and get the trailer tires. I mean, go ahead and get the tandem trailer, and you'll be way more satisfied with that. Let's start at the back of the boat, and then we'll work our way to the front. I'm gonna put this camera in this here, so I'm not just shaking around so much. Okay. We'll start at the back. So like I mentioned, I run power poles, shallow water anchors, and let's see, it's not working like I want it to. I run the power pole shallow water anchors, and I like the shallow water these because number one, customer service. I trust the product; it works the best. Some people complain about the pumps taking up space in the boat. I don't really care about the pumps taking up space in the boat. I always run dual power pole shallow water anchors. I just think it's the best one to use. Okay. Also, always, you see, I have a hydraulic jack plate. That is a Bob's Machine Shop hydraulic jack plate. Every boat I own has a hydraulic jack plate. Every single one of them. I always run a hydraulic jack plate for several different reasons. A lot of people will say, "Well, I run a hydraulic because I want to get access to shallow water. I want to, that whole thing." Shallow water is probably the least of why I have a hydraulic jack plate. I'm not really worried about getting into shallow water. It will help you get out of some shallow water scenarios, but for the most part, that ain't why I got it. It is load management. They with the power when you got a hydraulic jack plate, angler or two anglers, being able to let my engine up or down helps the performance and the handling of the boat. In performance, I don't just mean going faster. What I also mean is being able to stay in control of the boat a little bit better. And then I also mean the performance is being able to get on plane a little bit better. Just being able to manipulate what the boat does the best, you need a hydraulic jack plate. It's not all about getting out of shallow water. Also, if I get in rough water and I need to get that prop down so I can get bite and stay and keep it going without the prop blowing out, I drop my motor all the way down. If I want to skin her back and let her snort and weigh in, I lift it up about 2.5 inches over the transom. She gone. Okay, so I just got a lot of things I can do with it. Sometimes people say, "Well, hydraulic jack plate make me go faster." The answer to that is kind of yes and no. Because you can manipulate the engine height, yes, you can get another mile an hour or two. My boat, when I run, depending on where my engine is on the jack plate, I can get 3 to 4 miles an hour more speed out of it. With it jammed all the way down on the transom the way I have it right now, it's going to run about 66 to 68 miles an hour where it is right now. As soon as I lift it up about 2.5 inches off the transom, I'm going to pick up about 4 to 5 miles an hour and run anywhere between 70 to 73, just depending on the day. Hydraulic jack plate, got to have him. Okay, let me raise you up. We're going to get up here and get into the back of the boat. I want you to be able to see my battery configuration. It may be better for me to just take this out of the Falcon's pretty cool because this rear deck deal is really it. So you can see they call it trifold, I think. 1, 2, 3 pieces of lid here. So watch, I'll be able to I can lift the lid up. You see there's my batteries, Rely-On batteries. 36 volt trolling motor, so I had 3 Rely-On batteries, lithium batteries. I'm gonna go over here and open up the other side. You can see how my lids work. Back here, you see I got 3. And then I lift the whole thing up. Got a few things back here. Sometimes I keep my life jackets back there. This is why I don't like these things. I had one igniter, whatever you call that, on me. Not back there, but it ignited on me just in the compartment, in the front compartment. Okay. So here's my cranking batteries. I always run 2 cranking batteries rigged in parallel. And what parallel means is all of my batteries, so these 2 batteries are rigged positive to positive, negative to negative. Positive, positive, negative, negative. This pulls all of my electronics and my cranking. Right beside that, you can see my 2 power pole pumps sitting right there beside each other. I got easy access to them. If I ever have any problems, which I have once in about 15 years, I've had problems with my power pole pumps. One time in 2019, I had a motherboard go out. That's it. It's the only thing I've ever had to do to my power pole pumps. In the center, right here, that's my charger. I have a 5-bank charger. That's a Pro Mariner 5-bank charger. I like to have my charger where I can see the lights. Sometimes people put chargers like way back up in here, kind of out of the way. I actually prefer to have my charger where I can see everything. I want to be able to see my lights clearly. I don't want to have to look for it and see what's going on. So that way I know my batteries are charging. I can read the labels really good. The LED screen's really good. Then, like I said, 36 volt series over here for my trolling batteries. Now, something probably I do run a C-Clear harness. Now, this might be harder to see, but we'll do the best we can. Let's see what this looks like. And you see I've got 3 breakers over here. There's a breaker. There's a breaker. There's also another breaker right there. So this breaker right here is going to turn on my power poles. That one right there, and it probably turns on my forward-facing sonar. If you got forward-facing sonar, you want to put that on a separate breaker, because if it's not on a breaker, you don't have an on-off button on your sonar unit or your sonar module. You got to be able to turn it off. When you turn the graphs off, it does not turn off, so it will drain your battery. You need it on a breaker that you can turn off. That's what my forward-facing sonar module is on this. This one turns the main power for my boat. So this one is going to turn on that breaker right there is going to turn on my fuse panel, all my panels on the dash, and graphs and everything else. That's how I get power to that. And this just is a main breaker for the rest of the boat right there. And I keep them all off. That way I don't have any problems draining my battery when I'm not using it. You need a way to kill that power. Let's move on. My live wells can be a mess sometimes because I put trash in them, but I do have, you can see my coil tags are in my boat, and I do run an oxygenator system. So this speaker looking deal right here is the TH Marine oxygenator. There's a very good explanation on what this does. I don't know what it does. All I can tell you is you put a bass in here and his nose goes right to the oxygenator. They sold me on that. They told me what it does. I don't know and don't even care. When I saw bass nose going right up to it, I was sold on it. I just always keep my coil tags in here. And you can see my live wheels are fairly grungy. I won't talk to you about that. So a lot of times people talk about their live wells. You're going to see a lot of videos about that here in the next few weeks as it gets really hot. I clean my live wells to keep my fish live. All right, so when you clean your live wells, this is why you need to clean your live wells. You don't clean your live wells because your fish are going to get the manges in there. Very controversial topic I'm about to bring up. You're not cleaning your live wells. Your live wells live in the lake. There's all kind of dirt, silt, and sand and everything in the lake. Why are you going to try to clean that out of your live wells? That's not why fish will die in your live well. They won't die because of a dead herring, a blueback, or a crawfish in there. They ain't gonna kill them. They won't kill them. You know what kills them? Is when your live wells are dirty, have a bunch of scales in there, clogs up the screen where your recirc pumps go to. Your recirc pumps can't get water. Now you don't have the flow in your aeration system that you're supposed to have, and your fish die. You clean live wells not to make them sanitary. You clean live wells to make sure that your pumps work correctly. Did you hear me on that? You're not cleaning your live wells to make sure that they're sanitary and there's no germs or anything in there. It's unbelievable. They have a slime coat to protect them. They're from the environment. Anything that's in your live well was from the lake. That ain't hurting them fish. What hurts your fish is you having too much silt, too many leaves, too many whatever off the bottom of the lake suck inside of your live well, gets into your screens, your pumps malfunction. Now it kills your fish. That's why you clean your live wells. Now, I don't want y'all going in the comment section and somebody, one of the pros, is about to show you a video about cleaning your live wells and start bashing them about it. Don't do that. Just know you're wasting your time cleaning it with Clorox and dish soap and all this baking soda and vinegar and all. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. You could be fishing that time. You could be in the house, cut your toenails or something. All right, so let's go here to the control center here of my boat. It's been pretty hot lately, so I got that going on. I didn't turn the power on, so I'm not going to have anything here. So on my boat, you know, Falcon has always had these rocker switches, which I actually kind of like because I could get a rocker switch anywhere if anyone ever goes out. A lot of boat manufacturers nowadays have these panels, touch panels, and if one thing goes wrong, your whole panel's out. One thing goes wrong, you got a $1,500, $2,000 repair. One thing goes wrong with me, then that's out, and I can go to O'Reilly's and pick one up. I even still have a key start. Ow! I love that. Yeah, I got a key start on mine. You can see I do run 2 HDS 12 Pros. In the last couple years, I've run this BBT mount. I highly recommend it with the upgraded gimbals. You see, I've got the upgraded thicker gimbals. You get way less vibration on these gimbals than you do the stock gimbals. It makes a big difference. You'll see your units shaking like that just going down the lake or on your trailer. You get those gimbals, it'll cut out a lot of that vibration. That's like the way they are. On my boat, I also run these what do you call these? Turn signal trims. So one controls my trim on my engine. That one controls my right one controls the trim on my engine. The one on the left controls my jack plate. Since I have the power off, it's not doing anything. That one controls my jack plate. I really like those. I don't want to ever have a boat without those again. I do run a foot throttle. I don't like foot throttles, but I run one. Here's another controversial statement. Okay, so I don't like foot throttles. The reason I don't like the foot throttle is you're putting all the weight on your back in rough water. With a hand throttle, I can brace myself with my legs and use my legs to plant myself in really rough water. I cannot do that with the foot throttle. All the pain is going to my back. Now, first argument, people are going to say, well, I need to be able to keep both hands on the steering wheel. Not if you're not going so fast. 2 reasons you need to have both hands on the steering wheel. I like to have one hand on my brake at all time. You say, well, Brian, your bass boat has a brake? Yes. Your brake is your trim and your throttle. That's how you slow a boat down. You slow a boat down by trimming the nose down to get it to slow down. I like to always have a hand on my trim at all times, at all speeds. I only drive my bass boat, even though I do have a foot throttle, I drive it with one hand. Because the throttle and the trim is the most important thing to manipulate that boat with. If you need both hands on the steering wheel, you, sir, are driving too fast. And that's why you feel out of control, is why you need to have both hands on it. The most important thing, if I see any kind of obstruction or anybody cuts in front of me, is being able to cut the throttle fast with my hands and trim. If I come out of the throttle and my boat's over trimmed, I'm out of control. If I'm over trimmed and I come out of the throttle and I need to go to left or right, I can't go left or right if the nose is in the air, not as quickly. But if I can trim it down, I can get it to manipulate way faster. I always have a hand on my trim. Well, Brian, if I get thrown out and you got a hand throttle, you'll get run over and all the things. You shouldn't be running the boat without your kill switch attached anyway. And what if you get thrown to one side and your kill switch doesn't detach? You can tune your hand throttle. Your hand comes off. It has what's called a DTS, where you can go back from a hand throttle to foot throttle. On my new boat for 27, I'm going to have the DTS on that boat. I think that's just about it there. Let's go. On my Falcon, this is my cooler in the center. Tool storage here. And this is just for miscellaneous plastics. We call it a day box. There's hooks in there, maybe glasses, a few other things in here. Most of this other stuff is just boat layout. It's not necessarily accessories or thing that you can probably buy. Here's a cool thing on a Falcon I'll show you. We have this little tray that you can pull back and forth. All of my terminal gear, hooks, swivels, sinkers, I keep on the tray that I can move back and forth. Plastics are usually in the center. Hard baits on the side. And miscellaneous plastics on the other side here. Okay, this is just also tackle storage over here. Tackle storage on this side. This tray pulls out, and I've got more hard baits in the bottom. I can pretty much pack my boat for the season and never have to really mess with it again. I used to pack my boat for every tournament. I quit doing that. It's using too much energy, man. For the most part, I'm good to go for the entire year. On my driver's side, this is like rain suits, a few extra boxes. This is my spinnerbait box. This is mainly rain suits, lights, it's probably gloves, my Bubba scale, fishing line, my jig box because I never throw jigs is on this side. That's really just pretty much everything on that end of the boat. Again, these are not accessories, just kind of boat layout here. I understand that y'all might not be that interested in that. There's one other thing I'll show you that may or may not be of interest to you. So on a Falcon, you can get rod organizers. You can see my rod organizers back there. It's basically like holes that you can stick your rods in, that thing all the way to the wall. Sometimes I don't run those, but if you carry a lot of rods, you probably don't want to have the rod organizer in there. I don't have that many compared to a lot of people. There's probably, let's see, it's probably 20 rods in there. So I can get away with it. You can put if you rod, circle and one little holes. Go up here to the business end, the favorite part. So on the Falcon, I do have a padded front deck. The carpet is padded. It's softer than the carpet in my house. Remember I tell you I do run a Lowrance Ghost. So this trolling motor is actually electronically actuated, so I can move back and forth. There are no cables on this. These are my power pole anchors. See how that arrow is going down? That'll push my poles down. You see how this arrow is going up? That'll push my poles up. On the front, I've been running ACS 12 Pro, and I have a Elite 10 that I've been using this year. They gave me an Elite 10 just to kind of test it and see what I thought about it. I swapped the Elite 10 from this boat to my Lund, which is like my home boat, my play boat. And so right now it's on the play boat, but I swap them back and forth on this particular boat. I do run on my Lowrance Ghost. I do run the longer shaft. What is it, 60? We used to be 60 inches. We used to have 45, 60s and whatever. So I think it's a 60-inch shaft. And I run my active target just in forward mode 90% of the time. Okay. Let's see. I don't think I have any other accessories on my boat. The only thing is, I do run these graph mounts. For years I didn't run them, and I ran them one year. I was like, oh yeah, I really like that. I think this is definitely worth the money. It's a pretty expensive mount, but for how much your graphs cost, I would say it's worth it, because it really does make a difference. I don't like running things that don't make a difference. I've found out over time this does make a difference. I will tell you one little sneaky thing I do. You can see that USB mount right there. You guys know that Paul Geddes at Tactical Sonar rigs all my boats, and he made this little unit for me to hook up cameras, charge my cell phone, and I can have it up here. So you can buy these little USB ports now and just rig them 12 volt up here on the front of the boat. So that's the other cool thing about my boat. Little things like that for me matter. Little things like that can make life a lot easier. Oh, here, let's talk about bow steps. And I think that's the last tricked out thing on my boat. So I do run bow steps. You see how I just walked down out of my boat just then? I run bow steps. I fought it for years. By far, I don't want another boat without bow steps. Look how easy. Watch how easy it is for me to get in my boat. I'm not even that old. I used to think this was for old men, but it's just so nice getting in and out of your boat. I just hit my back on my garage door opener, so that was nice. But it's just nice getting in and out of your boat with ease with the bow steps. I recommend them on any boat. You can get aftermarket bow steps if you have an older boat. You want to add them, easy trailer add-on. I think the one that I know of is called like Trick Step or something like that. But I highly recommend bow steps. But I want to say that's all the accessories that I have on my boat. I've found out over time I've had a lot of extra stuff, and I've kind of figured out what makes sense to have and what doesn't. And lithium batteries, power poles, 4 graphs. I've had years where I've ran 3, where I put 2 on the front and then 1 on the back. A lot of times I run 1 on the console, and I put 2 graphs on the front. But for the most part, the last couple years I've been running 4 graphs. I do like it a little bit better for most situations. All right, Mike, we'll go back to the, do we have any questions? Anything pop up there?
Do you run shocks on the trailer? If so,
Yes.
Do you notice a difference?
Yes, I do run shocks on the trailer. I'm gonna switch back to this big camera, to my yeah. So I do run shock. I do have shocks on the trailer. I ain't rode in it once on the trailer. Not one single time. So I don't know what it's doing. Looks cool though. I don't know what it's doing. I'm just being flat honest. I do have shocks on my trailer. I don't know what them things are doing. I've yet to ride on it on the highway. So it could be helping. It might not. I have to ask my Falcon one day if it's making a difference. Little things like that, if you keep a boat 10, 15 years, it could, because think about it, if you get less vibration, think about all the mounts and bolts and things that you have on your boat. If you're driving a boat a long ways, it does vibrate a lot on the trailer. So I think about like all my motor mounts, trolling motor, all those little components. There's quite a bit of stress involved with having them, like with towing.
Speaking of motor mounts, do you use a transom saver?
Yeah, I use I'll take mine off here. I don't use a transom saver. If you need a transom saver, you need a transom repair. But whatever we call these guys, this one is a Geiger Tech. A guy gave it to me like 7 years ago, and I've been running the same one. I never sell it with my boat. They're pretty expensive. This is an aluminum one. Geiger Tech motor, motor saver, tilt trim saver. If you need a transom saver, that's what we always call them, the one that hooks to the trailer. If you need to support your transom, you need a boat repair. Your engine is 250 horsepower. Who knows how many foot-pounds of thrust that thing is giving you going down the lake. If you need it to be supported as you travel down the road, you got problems. You got a lot of bigger problems. So that's never your problem. It's towing on a bumpy road or trying to support. You're trying to support the hydraulics on your engine. That's the reason you run one of these. Your transom doesn't need support from holding the engine. It's your hydraulics you're trying to save. So that's why I run these. And I run the Geiger Tech one. There's a lot of different brands out there for you to run.
Yeah, I knew a couple of guys that would talk about the concern with the transom saver connected to the trailer that you're transferring
More
the vibrations
energy.
of the trailer into your lower unit,
Yep.
into your motor, and it's being counterproductive and
It's
just making it worse.
counterproductive. Yep. All that vibration. Keep in mind, most trailer tires, they don't even balance them. I know they don't come from the factory balance. So you can get a lot of vibration. It's sending all that directly to your engine. Will it mess up your gear case? I don't think it would, but there's definitely a lot of motor mounts and a lot of things on your engine. From it's transferring all of that energy every time you hit a pothole. All that energy gets transferred from the road to your tires, from the tires to the trailer, from the trailer to your engine, for all those engine components. Why would you do that? We did it for years. I did it too. We didn't know any better. We did not know any better.
I'm not seeing any other than Barty's question about
Yeah,
accessories,
yeah.
but I think you dove through
What was
most of
his
that.
question?
He was saying if you had, how would you prioritize accessories basically if you got
Okay, that's
limited money?
yeah, good question. Prioritizing your. I was going to prioritize my accessories. This is going to vary from person to person. For me, I am going to get power poles first. This is really the way I do. I'm going to get power poles first for my personal style of fishing. I don't have to have an anchor mode trolling motor. That's about the only one Lowrance makes is an anchor mode trolling motor. I don't really need that. It's not a priority for me. Doesn't help me really much at all, other than when I'm retimed, because I don't use anchor mode to fish with. I'm almost always moving, and then anchor mode doesn't hold me in one spot. I can hold my boat better mechanically or with my foot better than anchor mode does. Anchor mode only works when the boat drifts. Fight your mama. Well, my boat does, and it helps me when I fish in brush piles. Bull crap. If you learn how to fish vertical, that boat is moving. And the anchor mode only responds after it gets over a certain tolerance and it pulls it back. I can feel that and I can keep it locked in much tighter. So I don't need the anchor mode. Power poles first. No. Hydraulic jack plate first. Power poles second. Graphs third. Lithium's fourth. I really don't want a foot throttle, but everybody that buys my boat wants a foot throttle, and it got aggravating to put a foot throttle on my boat in between the time I had a buyer, and it was too much. So I just go ahead and just take it. And plus, I'm old enough and I got enough sense now that I will drive extremely slow if I need to. And I ain't worried about my boat. I'm worried about me. I'm gonna outlive my boat. Okay. I want to get back when I'm 70 years old. I will bring, if I see boat wakes, I'll bring it all the way off a plane. Well, that must, I know somebody, that must mean Falcon ride rough. No, all of them ride rough when it's 2 footers from a wake boat. I don't want that, man. I don't like that. Um, yeah, that would be my priority. I can't think of any other thing. Hydraulic jack plates by far the most important. Power poles. I think I said my graphs next, and then my lithiums last. Out of the accessories that I have, graphs I'm calling like forward facing too. I'm putting it all in that.
Ken Pfeiffer asked about the safety leash for the motor.
Yeah, I need one. Get it. I had another friend of mine, guy I traveled with. He knocked his lower unit off yesterday. Knocked his whole engine off, actually, not his lower unit. He knocked his engine off yesterday. So yeah, get a leash. I need to get one, especially where I'm going next, Champlain. Yeah, I need it. I need a leash at Champlain. You can hit stuff at Champlain. People think that those northern lakes are just they're the worst. Everything up north is rock. And then like running around in Champlain, if I decide to go largemouth fishing, you could easily hit a some kind of log or something under the water. So Kenny, he says Kenny Pfeiffer has a question here. Have you tried the trolling motor feature that the GPS and mapping keeps the boat in 10 foot of water or contour blown break? Okay, so what he's talking about, so almost all your trolling motor manufacturers now, they'll link like a ghost. I can link my ghost with my graphs. And I can actually make my trolling motor take me on a 10 or 12 or 15 foot contour, and it'll stay on that contour wherever it goes. I can also put a waypoint and make it go straight to that waypoint. Kenny, I don't use those because where I fish, that is not applicable. That works really great for people that fish for walleye or fish the Great Lakes for smallmouth. Where I fish, that's not even like it's just not applicable at all. And I'm even counting when I say where I fish, I'm counting at home, and I'm also counting when I go other places. It's just not the deal. It's staying on contour. It's great for people that fish like reefs up north and do stuff like that, but it just not even close to being applicable to think that a motor is going to keep like that. I need to just keep my boat in 10 or 12 or 20 foot of water. Just doesn't work like that here. But up north on the Great Lakes, St. Clair, Lake Erie, even in some cases like Lake Champlain, St. Lawrence River, that could play. It could definitely be a deal. They get on depth ranges up there. Ours, it's just too much more pinpoint casting in the southeast, which is where most of our tournaments are. So also Kenny asked about my mapping features. So I run the Lowrance C map. That's what they have. And so I have the ability to color shading, 1 foot contours, all etc. And mapping is really important. We talk a lot about forward facing, so no, mapping is really, really important. Um, and it's gotten so good over the years. Like it's so good. That used to be a cheat code for a lot of guys that have really good tournaments back in the day. Was having the latest and greatest in mapping. And I think I mentioned earlier that sometimes, like back in the day, I'd always have a Humminbird in my boat because Humminbird used to have the best mapping. Lowrance has caught up with them and maybe even better on certain lakes. I used to run Lake Master for years. I would keep a Humminbird on my boat just for that reason. I don't have to do that anymore because C-Map's just gotten so good. I would argue C-Map's better. Out of the three companies between Garmin, Humminbird, Lowrance, by far Garmin has the worst mapping. It's not even close. Garmin's mapping sucks. It's not good at all. And what makes it not good is the fact that like on Garmin, there'd be like Kenny for you on the Potomac River, like uh freaking was Aquacon or whatever. What's the bay over there? Like it might be all red. It'd be huge bays that they just won't even survey, and it'll just be like red. where CMAP, I'll still have contours almost everywhere. It's very frustrating to spend that much in a unit, and then you go to a certain bay or somewhere you might want to fish, and the whole entire bay is just not even mapped. Very frustrating. Oh, this is the one. Barty says if you only had money for one accessory, but I guess I kind of ordered that. He said if I only had money for one accessory between forward-facing sonar, power pole, spot lock, hydraulic jack plate. If I had money for just one of those, for me it'd be jack plate. You know, it'd be between jack plate and poles. A hydraulic jack plate is such a powerful tool on a bass boat. It'd be between that and the poles. Pretty tough to make that choice. In the past, I almost always had a hydraulic jack plate. People have underestimated. They really don't know the power of a hydraulic jack plate. And then also, I'm a gearhead, and I like for my tools to perform. I don't need them to go fast, but since I've always been a gearhead and always been around motors and racing and things, and my dad was, I like for things to work at their peak performance. If it's 47 miles an hour that my bay boat can run, I want to see if I can get 47.9. Like I ran 4 different props on my bay boat and it runs 43 miles an hour. So I like things that get peak performance. I bet it would be a jack plate, but between jack plate and the poles, the rest of those things won't help me catch fish. Won't help me. It won't make my life any easier. Really. Yeah, that would be my
Let me.
first.
Can I throw a twist on that question?
Yeah.
So that being a budget question, what would be your thoughts if it's really a budget limitation of say a 19-foot boat with a 150, but you can get more accessories because you can afford them versus a bigger boat with less accessories?
I want a bigger boat. Yeah. Accessories don't do anything. I want a bigger boat. The money that you spend on accessories, you don't get that back. You don't get it back. Yeah, get the bigger boat. Get the bigger boat and get it naked. You'll get some money later on. Something will come up. You might meet your sugar mama at some point or sugar daddy. And you'll be able to get them grabs. Get the bigger boat first. Don't get a smaller boat with more accessories. That's a great question. I would like to make a YouTube video out of that too. What was the other one? I need to write that down. There was a bit. What was it? It was something somebody said. I was like, that's gonna be my YouTube video. Oh, about the boats, bigger versus smaller, and like getting around docks. I'll make a YouTube video about that, and then what you just said. What did you just say? Because I forgot that fast.
Buying
Bigger.
a smaller boat so you can get all the fancy whiz bang accessories, the forward facing sonar, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't get a smaller boat so I could get forward facing sonar and plate. I would. There's no universe where I would do that. Get that big son of a gun. Get that big one. Okay.
Can I throw one more out?
Yep.
I've had these conversations a time or two, as you know.
Yeah, I bet so. Yeah.
2-stroke or 4-stroke?
Oh, 4-stroke. Get the heck out of here.
And I guess what I mean,
bro,
if you're shopping used boats.
Yeah, 4-stroke. 4-stroke. Stroke it 4 times. 4-stroke. Yeah, that ain't nothing to talk about. Dude, where our engines are now, I never thought we would have engines as reliable as they are now. I remember back in the day, I don't understand how we can get car engines to go 300,000 miles and a boat engine won't last but 2 years. We're there. Do you still see engines still have catastrophic failures? Yeah. But dude, it is so rare. When I first started tournament fishing, if you worked earlier today, go watch the live I did with Dave Washburn earlier today. I was talking about fishing the BFLs and talking about tournaments, etc. When I was fishing BFLs and when I first started fishing like the Toyota series and 08, 9, 10, That was the years of the Evinrude. What was it? It wasn't even the E-Tech then. E-Tech was coming along, but it was the HOs, which was the fixed series, and then even Mercury's with the Optimax. Dude, it was just like you see 10 or 12 engines blown every tournament at Toyota Series. Every tournament. Blew up today. He blew up today. You hear about say he blew his up today. It blew up. Dude, I know like 5 people that's blown up a Mercury Pro XS. Like catastrophic, she gone. Threw a rod through the block. Like 5. That motor's been out since 2018. I know like 5 people has blown them up. Like we're there now. There's so many electronics to shut those engines down when something's not right. It's overheating, shut it down. Ain't got enough oil, shut it down. Something ain't right, it ain't getting enough air, shut it down. The water in the gas, it shuts itself down. If that engine back there ain't getting what it needs to survive, the computers shut it down. Now we got some other little things that we've had to work through over time, but like where we are now with 4-stroke engines, I didn't think we ever get there. Like we're there. These things are pretty freaking reliable. Outboard engines, my dad's still got an Optimax. It's hard to get him to switch when he gets on to something. So for years he ran the old EFI. For years he ran the old carburetor stuff, 2.5 carburetor stuff. That's why I know so much about Mercury engines for years. From the 80s to the 20 years, my dad was stuck on a 2.5 carburetor Mercury. Would not run anything else. We go into, and then he finally got an EFI in 2000. From 2000 all the way until 2012, he would not switch over to Optimax. He finally got an Optimax, not 2012, by 2015. He finally got an Optimax. And he still has not let an Optimax go yet. He will not let it go. He's an Optimax freak. Trying to get him switched over to a 4-stroke. Optis were pretty good though. I mean, they did blow. You do get catastrophic failures, but compared to his predecessor, it was better than the predecessor. And where we are now, like if it gets much better than what we got now, I guess it's just gonna have to be like electric to get much better than what we get where we are now. Like the engines are good, man. Used, new, whatever case may be. I don't want a 2-stroke. Get him out here. These sound good, and that's it. People are like, "Oh, I love the smell." I don't want to smell that. I don't want to smell that. Get it out of here. I don't want to see the smoke. Ain't nothing good about smoke. If you want smoke, like why y'all obsessed with smoke? You like marijuana or something? I don't want smoke. I don't like smoke. It makes my allergies activated. I don't want that. No smoke for me, man. Give me my 4-stroke. And these engines are good, man. They really are. I got 4 Mercuries, 250, a 150, a 115, and a 30. I ain't did nothing to them engines at all. I changed the oil in them and put gas in them. I ain't did nothing to them. I couldn't say that about my 2-strokes. I used to have a whole wall of oil that I would run through for the year. I try to buy my oil ahead of time. God, that was an insult to injury. Gas was $5 and we were buying oil to go along with it. All right. Hey guys, I really enjoyed this live. Let me know how y'all like this format. This was for me. I like this a little bit better than doing it like weekly or every other week. Kind of get in a groove, get a good plan set out. If you missed the lives, of course, they'll be archived here in the app, and then we're going to have them all cut up into pieces. Not everybody's going to want to sit through an hour and a half, hour, 45-minute live. We're going to cut them up into short pieces, and then over the next couple weeks, you'll be able to get, get all the meat and all the good pieces from the last few lives that we've had. All right. Then our tournament starts. So let's jump in. Our tournament starts this Saturday. Do another SUF Big Bass Challenge. Mike, do we have that landing page already up on the app? If we don't, we'll get it sometime here soon.
Yeah, it's up on the web. I'll get it slid into the
Okay.
so it's nice and accessible in the app.
All right, perfect. So we'll get that landing page, get you registered, get on the tournament, and the same thing like what we did last time. Um, yeah, be really good. We'll start doing that like every month. Maybe just do it this way. I think it's pretty fun. You get 6 lives instead of 2 or 3 a month, and then bring in some more guests. If you got ideas of guests that you'd like to have or subjects you'd like to cover, I'd love to get those topics suggested community or reach out via the inbox here on the app too. I think that's all. Y'all have a good rest of your day. I'm gonna go eat a little bit of Mexican tonight with the kiddos, and we'll touch base here in the next couple days to see how the tournament's going for everybody. All right.